My wife was already here, and she called me, and I just was thinking the worst right away. Said that after he got here, there were some complications. He ended up coding, and they had to resuscitate him. And I collapsed in the parking garage, and so many emotions, you didn't know what to think. October 22nd, Liam, he came down with a lot of symptoms similar to the flu. He was running a fever, he was nauseous, vomiting. October 23rd, his fever broke, he stopped vomiting. He seemed like he was doing better, and his sister, she ended up getting them same symptoms. So we just continued to think that he must have just had the flu bug. On Saturday, he wasn't getting any better, and he was just getting real weak, and his complexion started going downhill real fast. So we took him to the emergency room in Dubuque, and the nurse came in right away, and instantly we need a doctor in here right away. She went out in the hallway, her and the doctor came in a short time afterwards, and the doctor said, we already called for a helicopter from Iowa City to come up. That all I can tell you is your son's very sick. We need to get him to Iowa City, and the helicopter's on their way up to get him. I waited with him in Dubuque at the hospital for the helicopter to show up. My wife took our other two kids down to her mom's house to drop them off down there, and she was going to meet us at the hospital. After the flight took off, I came straight down to Iowa City. When my sister was younger, she came here for cancer treatment. I remember when I told her and my mom about Liam first getting sick, they said he's in the best hands in the country that he can be in. And that's part of the thing that kept me positive through that next night. That night, about 11:30, they finally got him set up into his room in the PICU, and they let us go in and see him. And it was hard to see your own kid like that. First thing the doctors told us when we got to the PICU, after they got him stable, was that his liver was shut down, his kidneys were shut down. They were going to start him on continuous dialysis. And they said they don't know what's wrong, but they think it's some sort of infection. And after 2 or 3 weeks in the PICU, they moved him to the burn unit, mainly for wound treatment. He went into septic shock, and he got a bunch of scarring and blisters and things like that all over his body. So he was just more or less went to the burn unit for wound care. Liam, he ended up losing all of his fingers and all of his toes while he was in the hospital. The human body is it's amazing the way it works. And what it did for him is it created clotting in his fingers and toes, mainly for making sure his main organs kept getting a blood flow to him. So it just kind of stopped the flow to the areas of the body it didn't need, which was his fingers and toes, but it kept the blood to his brain, all his major organs. He was home for a week during Christmas time, and then we checked back into the hospital the following Monday. I think all in all it was like 59 days total that first day, and then it was like 2 or 3 weeks the second time he was in. We have to change dressing on his feet twice a day. It's open wounds on both of his feet still. There's no crying for it. He knows it needs to get done, so as soon as he sees us getting his gauze out and the gel for his feet and the wrap and stuff, he knows it's time to get his feet changed, and he has this own little chair that he goes and sits in for it, and he doesn't fight it one bit. We were in the process of getting him a power wheelchair a couple weeks ago. Instead, I found a used walker for him to use, and he started using that, and he picked up on it great. After 2 weeks of that, he told me one day when we were outside playing in the yard, he said, "Dad, I don't want to use the walker. I want to run around like Noah and Elizabeth do." And I said, "Well, let's see if you can do it." So I set him at the edge of the grass, and I sat on the other side of the yard, and he took off.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
And it was like instant tears, because I was just so proud of him, how far he's come. He's walking around now just fine without any prosthetics or anything. It's amazing the way he's adapting with it, and he wants to be as much of a normal kid as everybody else, and he's doing a great job at it. We were in the hospital, and when he was still in the burn unit, and he was asking us about his fingers and stuff like that, and jokingly I said, "Well, when you went in the ocean, a shark bit your fingers off." And it was just he gave me that look, and it was just like the sparkle in his eye, and he thought it was the greatest thing ever. So now all the time, if somebody asks what happens to your fingers, it's
a shark bit them off.